IULs are an extremely powerful tool, but they are often misunderstood and even misrepresentative by agents. Isn't that true?
Absolutely, Troy. I mean, you and I have been in this cash value life insurance policy business here for a while. I know I've been doing it 8 years here at Gordon Marketing, and I've seen a lot of misunderstandings about how to properly structure them, what the proper product is, what the proper use is, and so forth. So, yes.
So let's talk about that. We want to really cover some ethics in this video to you. And like Paul said, if we do things right and we proceed ethically, you're not going to have any problems because the product really isn't the issue. A lot of times the presentation is the issue by misleading the customer. Now, in the last quarter, in quarter two of 2025, IUL sales were up, 31% according to Limmer reports. So they are taken off. People are interested in the IULs because they have a flexible premium, flexible death benefit, and you can manage it. Now, I say manage, and that's something we're going to talk about later because it's very important to manage the policy year over year to make sure it's performing well. But another thing too is that this growth that we've seen in the industry has attracted a lot of different sales tactics. And unfortunately, some of those sales tactics have been, shall we say, a little shady, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you strike on a really important point first, Troy, which is especially in IUL, maybe a little bit more so than a whole life. Whole life has more guarantees inside of it, but IULs are not meant to be sold as a set it and forget it. You place the policy, you walk away, and you tell your client good luck. They need to be managed on a year-over-year basis. There needs to be a policy review done on an annual basis. Make sure that the index is performing as planned, that you give the customer the option to make some changes along the way to optimize the performance of the policy, and making sure that the education is kept on par throughout the life of that policy.
So I think some agents out there, not you watching it, but we'd have some across the country that may offer IULs as no risk, but all reward. And that's a dangerous path to go down because IULs have to be structured right. They have to be created right for each client. No IUL is going to be the same for each client.
Yeah, correct. And what becomes very attractive with IULs as well is the subside market potential on the cash growth. Okay. And we can't mislead people about it. The fact that how we actually illustrate it and how it actually performs could be two totally different things.
Very true. How many of you watching this will actually go over the history of the indexes and how they performed over the last 20 years? That's on all the illustrations for a reason. It's to educate your client in knowing how that market's been performing. And when you go in and just say, here's your illustration, you're going to have $500,000 in 20 years. It's going to be tax-free income. Don't worry about it. These things do great, but you don't explain it and you don't educate the client. That is misrepresentation, and that falls under unethical practices.
Absolutely. So, one of the things I like to always think about, Troy, whenever I'm making a recommendation for any of my clients or teaching an agent to make a recommendation for their client is what's the proper tool, the proper product, what's the proper structure of that product, and then what kind of things can we do to adjust along the way in order to maximize the performance of it and to make sure that my client is on board with those things and why we need to make changes from time to time. And I think if you stick to that guideline pretty well, proper fit, proper tool for the proper job, you're not going to get into too much trouble.
And you know well, just as I do, Paul, that not every type of life insurance policy is going to fit everyone. You have different stages of life. You need different things. You need different protection. You need different cash accumulation. You need different benefits. So just like whole life wouldn't work for everyone, IULs aren't going to work for everyone. Term's not going to work for everyone. We can go down the list. You have to make sure you package it in the right manner for the client so it serves their best goal. And as an agent, You have to think about the client's goals, not your commission. I'm going to give you an example. I worked with a person the other day, and they wanted to do a level death benefit. Well, I ran the illustration as a level as they wanted me to, but I also did it with the return of premium, where you're taking that premium and reinvesting it back into the cash and back into the death benefit. But the commission on the return of premium illustration was about a third of it was on the level. That agent wanted the level. Now, the level is not bad. It works in a lot of practices, but I had to explain to the agent what's best for the client and what did the client want. They wanted their death benefit to grow and they wanted their cash value to grow. So level was not the best tactic for them to use in that scenario.
Absolutely. Well, you can't get what we call commission breath, where they see a sale coming and they see that maybe this isn't their best interest and that there's more in it for you than for them. If we, I like a saying that my wife said one time, which is, there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. Okay. And if we apply that to life insurance and we're ethical and we simply do what's in the client's best interest, we're never going to get into too much trouble.
So let's give them 3 easy ethical practices to remember. 1 is always assess the value. The client's goals, the client's desires always come first, not yours. Do what's right for the client and educate them. Explain the details of how an IUL works. If they want an index universal life, you need to explain it and really go over all the details of it to make sure that they have an informed decision that they can make. And then you need to set realistic expectations. It's not a pie in the sky. Be realistic with them. Go over everything with them. Explain that, okay, there's a floor and a cap, but what happens if the market hits 0? You're going to get 0. So you need to go over these ethical practices, do the right thing, and educate your clients, because if they understand it, know it, they're going to buy it, or they'll choose a different route to take.
Absolutely. And if they choose a different route to take, we have other solutions for them. So that's an important thing to remember as well. It's not just about, well, we bought this today and we're going to keep it the rest of our life. There's times, there's stages of life in which we can reassess and reevaluate, and many times at no additional cost, but for better performance over the long haul.
I think if agents are ethical and they're transparent, they don't have to worry about any of the litigation nonsense that's going on. That is for people who are not following ethical guidelines and selling a pie in the sky.
Right. So, Troy, in the name of time, let's kind of summarize here. Folks, if you have questions about this stuff, be sure to reach out to Troy or myself. Let's have a discussion about what's really going on with the policy. Let's talk about the best way to illustrate it using conservative parameters, not necessarily the top of the limit of what we can illustrate at, but maybe what we feel is a more realistic number. Let's look at what's in the client's best interest, their long-term goals and all that. And with that, I think that you'll always be able to put your client in the best position and you'll have nothing to worry about. So
be rooted in integrity with ethics and happy selling.